In this lesson, we will mirror our initial pose, and we'll also cycle the animation. So we'll first start by mirroring this pose on our midpoint, frame 8. And then once we're done with that, we can go in and cycle the animation via the graph editor. Let's go ahead and get started by working on the legs, and we'll work our way up the body. I'd recommend turning off the character set for now, since we'll be copying and pasting from specific controls and we don't want the entire body to be affected when we do that. Alright, so let's go ahead and work with our pose mirroring tool. So let's go to frame 8. We need to make sure that the right leg is matched to the left leg on this frame and vice versa. So let's start with the left leg. Let's go ahead and select it first, and then we'll shift select the right leg that we'd like to mirror. And now we'll go ahead and use our MPT tool. Great. So you'll see that that pose has now been mirrored. With the exception of the ball control, we need to go ahead and drop the ball of the foot. Let's go ahead and select it and zero that out. There's no pressure on the foot, so that shouldn't be rotated up at all. Alright, excellent. So we have one pose mirrored. Now if you do not see animation here, if this leg is not moving, it's probably because you don't have auto key on. Let's go ahead and make sure that that's on so we can quickly go in and set our keyframes. So now we need to mirror the left leg. So here's how we'll do this. We'll go to frame 1, and now let's middle click on frame 8. You'll notice that the animation does not update. The middle click tool is a great tool for adding moving holds or for copying and pasting animation. So since the animation didn't update, take a look at the right leg. This is the pose we would like to capture. Let's go ahead and select our right leg control. We'll shift select the left leg, and now we'll go ahead and use our mirror pose tool. Excellent. So there we have it. Our run is coming together. It's pretty funny right now. Let's go ahead and take our ball value on the right foot. Let's go ahead and copy that. Go to frame 8. Grab that same control on the left side and paste in the Z-axis. Alright, great. So now both legs are mirrored. And that's what we want for cycles, because we're able to achieve seamless cycles that way. And this goes for walks and runs. If you're working on a cycle that doesn't have symmetry, of course that isn't necessarily the case. But for these types of cycles, this works very well for creating a natural looking motion throughout the entire character. Alright, let's go ahead and work on the hips next. Let's go ahead and select the hip control, and we'll go ahead and just use the reciprocal here. So instead of -30, we'll use positive. You don't want to necessarily match my values at all. The most important thing here is to understand what happens throughout the run. So in this phase, we really want to capture the character's disposition and make sure that it's accurate. So the values aren't the concern. The concern is just making sure that the pose that we choose is natural. Let's go to the character's chest control, and again we'll use the reciprocal value here in our y-axis. So instead of -28, or excuse me, +28, it's going to be -28. There we go. Alright. Let's go ahead and take care of the character's head control next. So we're going to flip a few values. It's going to be the Y and Z. So let's go to frame 8, and we'll put in a value of +20 and +1. The x-axis stays put. Great. Alright, so this is really coming together now. Let's go ahead and take a look at the animation so far. We'll just scrub through, just making sure we're satisfied with everything. Now take a look at the character's chest. You can see here that it kind of is a bit too straight. When the arm that moves forward is coming up, we do want a tilt in our z-axis. So let's take care of that now. On frame 1, let's go there and rotate the body over just slightly in the z-axis, nothing much. We could always bring this value to, let's say, -4. I'll middle click on frame 5, click on the rotate z-axis, right click, and again set a value of -4. And then when we get to frame 8 here, we'll use the reciprocal of +4. Excellent. So that will work out much better for us. All right, let's go ahead and do the same thing for the character center of gravity. That's also going to have a tilt. So we'll tilt it over just slightly on frame 1, the same direction. So I'll go ahead and use a value of -2 here. Middle click on frame 5. Let's go ahead and use -2. And on frame 8, we'll put in a value of +2. All right, so now it's time to work on the character's arms. Now, here's the trick with the arms. If you're dealing with mirrorable FK controls, meaning that when you select one half and the next half and you start to rotate, they mirror one another. If you're dealing with those controls, all you need to do is copy and paste your values. But if you're dealing with controls that are non-mirrorable, you'd want to flip your Y and Z axes. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look. And this really depends on your controls orientation. Sometimes you want to leave the Y-axis alone and flip your X and Z. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at this. On frame 1, we'll go ahead and copy the value on the left shoulder. Right-click and choose Copy. Let's go to our right arm, go to frame 8. We can now right-click and choose Paste. So here we're going to want to flip our Y-axis. It's going to be set to -77. Great. We'll also go in and flip the Z-axis. Okay, so that pose should now be mirrored. Let's go ahead and take care of the opposite arm. So this time we're copying the right arm on frame 1. Let's go ahead and shift select that frame, right click and choose Copy. Now we can go to frame 8, select the character's left arm. Let's go ahead and grab that shoulder, right click and choose Paste. And again, we want to flip our values. So it's going to be -50 for the Y-axis and -47 for our Z-axis. Excellent. So this is certainly coming together now. Okay, we need to worry about the forearm. So I'll just go to frame 1, grabbing the right forearm. We'll go ahead and copy that value. Of course, we know that when we paste it on the left forearm in the Y-axis, it's going to flip. So we just need to put in the reciprocal here. Excellent. So take a look. Our pose has now been mirrored. We can go ahead and hide our controls. Take a look at where our cycle's going. All right, it looks pretty fun, but we will be making this look much better in no time at all, believe it or not. One of the most challenging parts already finished, and that's deciding on not only the initial pose that we've set, but how to go in and instantly mirror that pose. So all we need to do is fill in a few breakdowns and in-betweens to kind of finish up. So we're making great progress. Now remember, we're going to go ahead and cycle the animation. So let's go ahead and head over to our character menu and turn on our character set. From there, we can now access our graph editor. That's Window Animation Editors right at the top. Let's go ahead and select our top character set node. We'll go ahead and press the F key. We'll go to View and turn on Infinity so we can see how our curves continue when we move before our initial key and past our last key. Okay, so from there, it's a matter of choosing curves, cycle, pre-infinity, and post-infinity. Great. All right, so I'll go ahead and close out the graph editor. The animation now loops, and that's going to help us to make sure that we have fluidity as we cycle through this animation. So in the next lesson, we're ready to work on the breakdown pose.